Hey Toy Family, welcome to another wonderful edition of the Marsham Toy Hour, where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm one of the hosts, Gary Ham.
And I'm Chris Ryniak.
And no George or Carlos tonight. I don't know what is it about you, Chris, but when you join, those two guys have like errands they have to run all of a sudden.
They just can't deal with my level of charm, I think.
I think that's what it is. Well, thanks for joining again. I always love having you on.
Of course, you got to get the East Coast representation.
For sure, and it's nice because you guys can record a little bit earlier than those West Coasters.
That's right. Just stop recording with those guys on the West Coast, man.
Would certainly be easier. I don't think I wouldn't have to deal with any LA traffic with you Ohio guys. All right, Chris, we have a guest tonight, and I know that you're familiar with him. He might have mentored you a little bit in the past. He's going to help us with our financial investing so that we can afford to buy more toys. He is the CEO of Morgan Stanley. Let's welcome James Groman.
Well, his name's actually James Groman.
This is a little awkward.
Edit.
Just kidding. So James, okay, I'm going to give you a proper intro now, and I'm going to warn you. I've been described by George as the man with a million man crushes. So I guess by that he means that I've gotten my nose a little brown on a few introductions in the past. So just relax. I'm going to be gentle, and I'm going to be thorough, and I'm going to go deep, like prostate exam deep. So I'll let you know how it looks.
Okay.
All right, so let's get to it. Today's guest has over 20 years designing toys. He's helped concept and design many toys that probably shaped much of our childhood, working for companies like American Greetings, Hasbro, Erdo Collectibles, Playing Mantis, and more. He was one of the designers on the original Madballs back in the 80s, and with the recent resurgence, he's back at it still designing Madballs for a number of companies today. Other toys he's helped design or concept have included My Pet Monster, Barnyard Commandos, Popples, Godzilla, Universal Monsters, Rudolph, and lesser-known properties like Star Wars and Transformers. On top of his incredible licensed toy career, he's made a huge impact in the designer toy world, designing and sculpting his own original creations like King Korpse, Rotten Rex, and my personal favorite, the BC Blasters. For those not familiar, you can view his art on Instagram under his handle, jgroman60. Let's welcome James Groman.
Hello, Jim.
Howdy. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Sorry about the long intro, but I wanted to be thorough.
That might have been the longest intro I've ever heard.
That was long. I apologize to all the listeners.
Well, that should just tell you how old Jim is.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, a word for every year. Is that correct?
We used to prototype out of wood carved by hand.
That's not too
Literally.
far off the truth.
No, it's literally.
Jim, right off the bat, can I offer you a bit of professional advice?
Uh-oh.
You're...
Are you talking to me or Chris?
No, I think he's talking to you.
No, I'm talking to you, Jim. I think you definitely need to stop procrastinating. Like, one thing I've learned, like, you're not going to get anywhere in the toy industry if you're just slacking off all the time.
I've been told that many, many times.
All right, then. Well, it's time to buckle down. Get focused.
Yeah, you might get somewhere.
Yeah, but the thing I am mostly told is you'll never get anywhere just drawing monsters all the time. You've got to learn to draw things, design other types of toys. My dad told me that. He used to tell me that all the time. You draw the best gorillas on the planet, but you know what are you going to do for a living? But luckily, he learned to see that I draw monsters and get paid for it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's parental advice many creatives can relate to. Hell, probably anyone can relate to.
Yes, it's just out of concern, making sure that we're going to be able to take care of our families and even have a family, because most artists are kind of like outcasts and spend too much time working.
Yeah, no, that sounds like artists, all right. But in all seriousness, like, your body of work's like super impressive. And last week we ended the show kind of like a joke of maybe some of the stuff you worked on. So I want to hit this question first. So you're kind of known as like the king of gore and just discussing stuff, but you also work full time for American Greetings, and some of their major properties were Carebears and Strawberry Shortcake. Please tell me that the king of gore also worked on those properties as well.
He did.
Yeah,
He
woo!
begged to work on Care Bears.
Actually, most of the time when I went over to see Jim at his cube, he was working on Care Bears,
Awesome.
almost every time. And it just like a pile of Care Bears, prototypes, things all over his desk.
It's variety makes the world go around. That's what I always say. It's like I love working on Care Bears as much as maybe not as much as I love doing the gory monsters and stuff like that. But, I do really like variety, and I like to be able to switch it up and try something different every once in a while. And I have to say, Chris and I both come from American Greetings, and American Greetings was the first job I had when I graduated from college. And they hired a small staff. So that small staff had to be able to draw monsters, cute characters, girls' doll programs. So you had to be versatile, and you had to be able to do a number of different things. So it was part of my training. It's like it made me who I am. So I love the variety. I think it just makes you a little bit more well-rounded artist.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I totally agree. Even where I work, you kind of have to work in a lot of different styles and ranges, and so it's kind of the same thing. But did you ever draw Care Bears with a little rotten flesh or grotesque flavor to it?
No, I did. I actually did one drawing that was, I took every character that American Greetings licensed, and I put them all together as one character. So it was like basically a Care Bear with a Madball for a belly and a My Pet Monster for a head.
Nice.
And just strawberry shortcake skirt on it and everything. So that's probably the closest I came. But I guess kind of mixing the things that I liked together in Care Bears, probably the closest that I did as far as that goes was I pitched in the new series that's on Netflix right now. There's I think it's on its second series where it's Care Bears and the Cousins now.
Yep.
I pitched the concept for the villain, which is a little monster. So it was my way of kind of getting at least something in there that was kind of from my world. And I felt like the Care Bears needed a villain of some kind. And sometimes that's a kind of a faux pas when you're talking about a preschool animated show. But yeah, the powers to be at American Greetings liked the idea of getting this little creature in there that was kind of a foil or villain for the Care Bears. So it was like a nice way of getting something that my sensibilities were a little bit more attuned to in the series.
Well, that's nice. Did you and Chris work in the same division over there?
No, actually, he worked in the licensing department, and I worked in the alternative cards department. We did a lot of part jokes and adult humor and stuff like that. But it was actually in the same open room. He was on one side of the room, and our department was on the other side. So we crossed paths a lot, and yeah, we actually sculpted over lunch periods a lot too. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot of sculpting just by watching Jim, and his attention to detail was just nuts to see in person. And wow. He sculpts so goddamn fast too. It's nuts. It's like a machine, like a milling machine. Like it just pulls it from out of nowhere.
It sounds like you found yourself watching more than sculpting too.
But actually, when you came back to American Greetings, so when you first got hired at American Greetings, it was for TCFC, right?
Yeah, actually, that was. This is a long time ago. It was graduating from college in '86. Cleveland Institute of Art, which I actually teach there now. I teach a couple of days a week, but I graduated from college and got hired right away because of Madballs. They had started all these, they're kind of known for Care Bears and Strawberry Shortcake, but they had started a couple different programs that were kind of monster based and action figures and stuff like that. And I happened to draw a lot like one of the artists that worked there, a gentleman named Mark Spangler, who actually was one of the first guys to ever draw a Madball.
Nice.
So they brought me in, and I, because of that, and the first things that they put me on were Madballs and another program that never went anywhere. But it was awesome. I mean, could you imagine? Come out of college, my teachers didn't know what to do with me. I was, they were like editorial illustration teachers, and I was drawing monsters all day long. And then my first job offer is this place that wants you to come in and draw monster faces all day long. So it was awesome.
Yeah, you got real lucky. That's nice, because probably originally your teachers are probably thinking you're going to end up doing, comic book illustration or something like that?
Yeah, and I wanted to go into film and animation design, and that's kind of how I geared most of my projects toward. I always had an excuse to draw some kind of creature or even tell a story with my art. And I don't want to put the teachers down because they were awesome. They were all about technique, and so I was learning how to draw my monsters in all these different techniques and different media and everything. So I mean, I love my days there, and it just it was awesome to get this job right out of school to do exactly. They most of the time the teachers were telling you, you're going to have to put your time in, work a lot of hours before you're really going to get that job that you're really going to love. And I got one right out of school. So yeah, it was amazing.
And you fell into sort of like the golden age of merchandising toys in the 80s too, when, you had Kenner and Hasbro, and you guys were doing like clearly distinctly toys for boys and toys for girls. But there was tons of gross out stuff and monsters and the company was called Those Characters from Cleveland, right? That was the offshoot, but it was actually under American Greetings. But you guys were like off on your own, right?
Yes, it was it was American Greetings they had this big world headquarters right in Brooklyn, right as a suburb of Cleveland. And when they hired me, they had a building separate it was kind of about 20 miles out of town in the middle of a woods. And that's where we did all these things were created. That's where Madballs was created. That's where My Pet Monster was created is this offshoot satellite office. And the guys that I worked with were all older guys. I was the kid. And these guys were amazing. And I had to hang my artwork up next to these guys every day. And that education started then. It was like hanging your stuff up next to these guys that were like, they're all like Robert Crumb fans, and they were all into Big Daddy Roth. And you can see all that in the Madballs.
Yeah.
When they hang this stuff up on the wall and then I have to hang my drawings next to it, you did your best work, because otherwise, your stuff move it off the wall to make room for these other guys and stuff. So it was a boot camp, man. It was there was some awesome days.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool. Also pretty intense too.
Yeah, but when you're doing what you love, and I'm learning from these guys every day. I was learning from them, and you look at Hornhead from the Madballs, and Hornhead is basically like Ray Harryhausen's Cyclops from Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and those guys were all fans of old monster movies and everything. There's so many different sensibilities that went into Madballs, just because these guys were all fans of the same things that I was. So, just think of this work atmosphere where you're with these guys every single day, and your whole job is just to pump out. I remember them coming to my office and going, "Groman, you're drawing too many drawings a day, slow down, you're making us all look bad."
When does anybody ever say that to anybody?
Yeah.
You're working too hard.
I loved it so much. It's just like I couldn't stop.
Yeah, so this is the kind of job you be doing whether you're getting paid or not, right?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And how was it when you started working there? Like, you just kind of fell into toys. Did you need to go back to school for any sort of industrial design element, or do you just pretty much just concept and a factory or someone else started figuring out all that sort of stuff?
Well, TCFC actually was they were the creative division, but American Greetings had a toy company called Amtoy, and Amtoy actually made those early Carebears was at Kenner, but like Madballs was made by Amtoy, and it was where just by osmosis you started to learn some of the materials and applications. And I remember these big gypsum molds coming into the studio that were some of the original Madball patterns, from overseas. And we had guys from our studio, some of the art directors, they were flying overseas to the factories to oversee, all the decos and all that stuff on the Madballs. So I think having a small studio where everyone's kind of meeting together every single day, you just start to learn the processes. Nobody ever really sat us down and told them. In fact, the guys flying overseas didn't know it. They were card guys. Guys that were used to doing card designs, and all of a sudden they were heading up this toy company that was having all these hits all in a row, and they were learning it.
Yeah,
I think that's why there's so much quality in those early Madballs and stuff, because they just did it to make it look good. They weren't worried about, how much is it going to cost, and can we fit it in this size box to get this many in a carton? And so it was pretty good time.
Well, I think that's why you guys there were so many good products coming out of that company too, because it was you guys were sort of trailblazers, and you weren't being beholden to process that had already been put in place by, a corporate entity. So you were allowed to be creative and be crazy and make mistakes and, just not know what you were doing.
Yep.
So I think that's why so many good things. And it's interesting how few people know that, like, so many toy lines and entertainment properties came from American Greetings. And I didn't know until I started working there how many things came out of there.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I had no idea. I mean, I primarily thought American Greetings was like gift cards and kind of Hallmark, cards. And I knew they had a lot of licenses under the belt, but I didn't know they had like an entire, R&D toy and design and, sculpting division. That's amazing to me.
And for how many, for each property that made it to retail, how many didn't?
Mm.
How many did you concept?
Oh yeah, I mean that's and I when I work nowadays, I listen to interviews with sculptors and designers and everything, and it's amazing how a lot of them have the same stories I do, where it seems like 80% of what you do never sees the light of day. Especially at a toy company when part of your job is ideating. It wouldn't believe the stuff that we did at that company that was so awesome. Prototypes that, you're talking about $20,000, $30,000 prototypes with, there was one, I guess it's one they're never going to sell, but it's so I guess I can mention it. There's no confidentiality going on here anymore, but there was one that's this like giant monster that you had a lever on its back, and when you push the lever forward, its tongue came out like 3 feet and had a magnet on the end. It would pick up a little soldier.
Awesome.
Drop its mouth. And that was the toy, is like you got this monster and a bag of soldiers and just go around and with this giant like chameleon tongue and pick up. We had this thing in the studio and we took it to every toy company out there and nobody was interested in licensing it from us. And it was such an awesome idea and it was such a cool prototype. I have endless stories about concepts like that were just so good. It's one of those things where so many different things have to fall into place for something to actually make it to market. That that was my education in those days, is learning the it's just like, oh, I have a great idea. Let's get it to a toy company, But it's just there's so many things at any point that can make it fail.
Yeah, by things you mean people.
Well, or combinations, because it's community. It's
right.
30, 40, 100 people have to decide this is a good toy idea. Barnyard Commandos was an odd one. I had just been hired. They put me, I was kind of like under everyone's radar, I think. And I was working with my art director at the time, my boss, and he was, I came to him and talked to him about Mutant Ninja Turtles and that it had just been licensed. That's how far back this goes. And I was talking to him about, we should do something with, battling animals. And I threw him the idea of like all these animals wearing different battle gear and armament, fish actually wearing mechanical legs and coming up out of the ocean, a flying pig with, a jet pack and wings and machine guns mounted on his back. And that's Barnyard Commandos came out of that. And it was just me and him kind of sitting in this room. That never happens. It was one of those things where because they had all these other lines going and all this stuff with Madballs and Carebears, that was one that just, we created it, we gave it to a salesman, he took it out, he got it at Playmates, and it came out. It was such a quick, streamlined process. It kind of spoiled me. I was like, wow, is this...
There was even a Barnyard Commandos like animated series too, right? Like just several episodes were done?
Yeah, it was a mini series, and it was 5 episodes.
5 episodes, okay.
The animation is kind of subpar, even though I watch it now and it's still got some funny things about it. But that was really exciting too, having that. And this is literally like I'm right out of college, so that was never happened again after.
Yeah,
that.
so you got totally.
Yeah, and that was like, yeah, this is the greatest career in the world, and it really is. It's just that then it just seemed to, it's like any company you go to, you got to sell a lot of people.
Yeah,
you got to be a salesman too. Yeah,
you got spoiled real early. And I think that's one reason the designer toy scene is kind of doing so well, is because a lot of these artists, they have ideas that necessarily companies wouldn't want to take on. So they just do them themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely think that's true. And the thing is, it's not that those ideas aren't getting pitched at companies either. I mean,
Right.
like I saw ideas getting pitched all the time that would either morph into something else that was so watered down and sort of lost its soul, but or just, didn't get made at all. But, those nuggets of, originality, they do try to get them in. And once in a while, things make it out. But I think the problem is, especially with a big company that can invest in entertainment, the bottom line is the most important thing, and it's risky. So, they don't take a lot of huge risks on things.
Yeah, no, even this company that I work for, a lot of stuff that we'll design or, concept even, it's all designed by committee, and there's usually one or two people somewhere on that committee or panel that says no or they don't like something, and just eventually things, like you said, just gets watered down, and most of the time the project just ends up getting shut down because of it.
Well, I think if you look at the entertainment industry now, like that's why you have so many people just going straight to Kickstarter or people working with Netflix or Hulu or Amazon because they don't have to go through that process anymore. And I think ultimately it's going to start killing off the major entertainment industry people because they're just not letting that stuff through. It's just going to become so watered down.
Yeah, I never thought about that really. That's good. So Jim, I have a question about the Barnyard Commandos actually. So I was saying that I really like the BC Blasters, the toys that you designed with Toy Art Gallery, which are essentially like just dinosaurs with, rocket packs and big bazooka guns on their backs and stuff like that. I always thought the BC stood for Before Christ, but was that really an homage to Barnyard Commandos?
Before Commandos?
Yeah, Before Commandos?
Yeah, it's strange. It's like I was trying to come up with names for the line, and BC Blasters came about really quickly. I was talking to Gino at Toy Art Gallery, and he wanted to do something with me, and I was coming up with ideas, and I just kind of said, you know what? Combine these things that I love and make them a toy line. I do everything because it's something I want to buy or something I would want to pick up. And I just came up with these first couple drawings, did a series of them, and then tried searching all these different names. When I come up with a name for a program, of course, I search it to make sure someone else doesn't have it. And I think I had Dino Blasters first, and I think it was owned by someone who made these actual dinosaur or something. And so somehow BC Blasters just came about, and we liked it and we kept it. And then later on I go, wow, Barnyard Commandos, BC.
Right?
Yeah. So, of course they are like the precursor. Being dinosaurs are almost like the precursor to the BC, to Barnyard Commandos. So
yeah.
You got to make that comparison, I guess. So
yeah, it's interesting. I just didn't know if you had the forethought or the smarts to put that together.
No smarts here.
Well, getting back to like your history, like what happened between when you left TCFC and when you started working back at American Greetings again? Like there was a period of time where you were doing resin kits and stuff, right?
Yeah, actually, TCFC fell on hard times, and that they actually dissolved the division. Carebears they still held on to Carebears and Strawberry Shortcake and put some of the other licenses kind of in incubation. And I started freelancing, and my first client was American Greetings. I was still doing, they were still holding on to some toy businesses that they still had in the works. And I sculpted a bunch of prototypes for, it was called Body Wars, and it was like you buy a little play set that is a brain, and you open the brain up, and there's a little soldier that protects your brain from infection, and the infection is a little monster that's trying to attack. I had never really sculpted a prototype for a toy before, but the guys that I still knew at American Greetings said, just do it. You're good enough, just do it. And so me and another guy, we actually worked on all the prototypes for those and sculpted them all, and the toy line actually came out. It was Toy Max. I don't know if they're still around anymore, but the whole line came out, and I started really throwing myself into sculpting full force. And like Chris mentioned, I got into that whole resin monster model kit wave of product that people were producing themselves. And I did that for probably like 8-10 years. I think my last piece was maybe like 6-7 years ago.
Was it the Zombat?
Yeah, Zombat Duel. But it's funny. I was listening to some of your other programs and listening to like Paul Kaiju and Dr. A even collected a lot of that stuff. I was not aware that they were kind of from a similar background of interest with that stuff. But yeah, I did that for a while. I sold my own products. I went to there were all kinds of shows all over the United States where people would set up and sell their resin casting these pieces, usually like $150, $200 for a casting in multiple parts of either your favorite movie monster or something. I usually like to do original stuff. So I did a lot of my own creations and I got in it right at the very beginning. So we go to these shows and we sell out. Every show we go to, we'd sell out.
Wow.
But then so many people got into it that it just got glutted and all of a sudden there's so much product out there. There's so many different people doing it. And good stuff was getting lost in all the noise of all this product that was being made. And I kind of made the switch to doing sculpting for larger companies where I did model kit patterns for 2 different Godzilla model kits that Playing Mantis, Polar Lights was doing. And Playing Mantis was a company that was doing a lot of like retro licenses. They did Johnny Lightning, which was that old Hot Wheels style line. And they did, I sculpted the whole first line of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer action figures that they did.
I have them all.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff kept me alive. I met a few people there that liked my stuff, and they just kept throwing me work. And I did, of course, Godzilla. I did one big Godzilla for Toys R Us through them, and I'm a huge Godzilla kaiju fan, of course. And that was, I mean, once again, doing exactly what you would be doing if you weren't getting paid, and these people are paying me. So I did a Headless Horseman kit for them, and I did a mummy based on the Brendan Fraser.
Okay, yeah.
Movie.
Travesty, I think is the word you're looking for.
It was always cool seeing all the photos of what the monster was going to look like before the movie came out and stuff. And
when did you do the TriStar Godzilla? Was that one of the 2 that you did?
Yeah, that was that movie came out in '98, so I probably did that.
Oh yeah, that was the year
'97 or something.
That was my first marriage. Yeah. I got married. It's funny because like my bachelor party, we went to go see that movie. So
wow, that's a raging bachelor party.
Like I'm a nerd. I'm like, that's not Godzilla, but it was a cool monster. It wasn't Godzilla, but that, if the listeners haven't seen that sculpt, just look up Jim's name and TriStar Godzilla and just look at the amount of detail on that thing. It's bonkers.
I saw it. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it looks like it's humongous too. Or is that just the amount of detail that's giving that perception?
It's like 27 inches long and about 15 inches high. And I mean, I didn't know anything about the movie when I first saw. They'd call me into the office. They wouldn't even give me copies of the photos. I'd have to sit there and kind of do little sketches and stuff to get detail. And eventually they gave me photos of what the monster looked like. It was really top secret. And they had some kind of code with the photos too, so they could track if you were leaking photos of what the monster looked like. And I liked the design. I thought it was really cool. And I'm with Chris. I was like, this isn't Godzilla, but it's kind of cool. And was that Patrick Tatopoulos was the special effects guy that actually sculpted it and stuff. And I liked it. And I did a bust just on my own dime because I wanted the job to do this model kit that I heard Polar Lights was trying to find a sculptor to do the model kit. So I did a big bust of the head and used that to pitch myself to do the sculpting. And there was a guy that worked on the actual film trying to get the job too. And I got the job based on that bust I did. So that's my Sistine Chapel, man. I look back at that and I go, I don't know if I could ever do that again.
Wow.
I don't know. I've been seeing the things you're working on now. You're getting close.
That one almost killed me though. That was like, I was working in a tight deadline. I was working, 15, 20-hour days. And I was baking the sculpting with a heat gun and holding it in front of my face and breathing in the fumes. It almost killed me, but hey, that's the nature of art.
So speaking of which, so what you're doing today, you've done a lot of the Madball designs for Kid Robot, and did you do the designs for Mondo as well?
No, actually,
Okay.
had nothing to do with the Mondos other than they're not even really based on the original designs. They're like, they kind of took the original designs, and I was saying it's almost like if you handed them to like Stan Winston or Rick Baker and make a Madball.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
almost on the realistic side. So no, I had nothing to do with that product at all.
Now, what's it like with this resurgence of Madballs coming? 'Cause I know back in like 2000, maybe 12, I started seeing them pop up again in Toys R Us. But really, in the last month or two in the designer toy scene, or just not even just designer toys, but I've just noticing Madballs having a really big resurgence. But it seems like now your name's more connected to it. Like probably when you're working, on it in the 80s. How was it working on licensed product where you were just designing toys but you actually didn't get the recognition for it, versus like designer toys where your name is actually on the product as the designer, sculptor, and such?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot because it's, back in the day we always used to say we're invisible men. We're really invisible guys that are working on this stuff. No one really cares who's sculpting this and or sculpting and designing this stuff and creating it. And sometimes it's 10 people. Madballs is like, I don't know if anyone can really claim they were the one that created it because it went through so many different iterations with different artists and to get the final product. But yeah, I thought it is really gratifying. I think it's because I'm probably one of the only designers that worked on it that's still working. I was pretty young at the time. Mark Spangler, who I mentioned earlier, he still works at American Greetings. He drew the first Madball. He's a little older than I am, but he's an amazing artist, and he drew Slobulus. And I think that was the very first actual Madball.
Did Tom Keebler work on Madballs at all?
Yeah, Gary, I don't know if you're familiar with a gentleman named Tom Keebler, but he sculpts like life-size, like very hyper-realistic figures of. He's done like H.P. Lovecraft and
Oh wow, okay.
Edgar Allan Poe.
He does a series he does freaks,
Yeah.
like two-headed people and everything. And Guillermo del Toro is one of his, collects a lot of his stuff.
When we got to take a tour of Guillermo's house, and I think he must have had 10 of his pieces in the and they're really disconcerting because they're like hyper realistic, made of silicone. They have glass eyes. I mean, they have like hand punched hair. They look like easy real. And yeah, he was one of the TCFC guys back in the day.
Okay, wait. Now you guys keep using the acronym TCFC. I know it's those characters.
Yeah, those characters from Cleveland.
Yes.
From Cleveland. Okay, got it.
Yeah, real creative.
It's confusing because those characters. It doesn't even sound like a toy division. It just sounds like some made up thing. It doesn't even sound like a division. Every time you guys were mentioning it, I'm like, what are they talking about?
I guess kind of take it for granted.
Yeah. I mean, they got thrown around so much at AG because it was so like tied to all those properties that there's so many acronyms that get thrown around in a corporate environment. Yeah, you do take it for granted.
You just do it without even thinking about it. You just threw out AG, like American Greetings.
Yeah,
I guess. Well, yeah, because here in Cleveland, we're kind of a community of, ex-AG or people that still work there. And it's a pretty amazing company when you think of, there's some super, super talent there. And everyone always thinks it as a card company, but there is a lot of people that do a lot of different things that most people aren't aware of.
And Robert Crumb got a start there too,
Yes.
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, what's it like working for a company as a creative? Because I know, like, you guys are going to have your own concepts and ideas that you think are really cool that necessarily you don't want to just hand over to another company. But when you're working for someone like American Greetings, did you just give them stuff, or did you ever hold back your own personal ideas?
Yeah, well, as far as when I was first hired back, I think the first idea I came up with, I held on to it. Because I liked it so much. I'm like, I think I'm going to hold on to this one. And then I pitched a lot. We were pitching, when I came back to AG, we were pitching ideas more to go straight to entertainment rather than, TCFC was, or those characters from Cleveland was going to toy companies first and licensing them. Then the entertainment came later. When I came back to AG, it was more about like, let's get things out in entertainment and then the licensees will come.
Okay, gotcha.
Chris, I don't know. Chris has ever come up with that.
Well, because what I was doing for myself was so far and away different from what I was doing there. It wasn't like it was apples and oranges, so they wouldn't have taken my ideas anyway. But one interesting thing about Jim that people probably don't even know is that every single thing that he draws has a backstory. he's a world builder. He's not just a character designer. So when he's saying he pitches ideas, he's got backstories and characters and good guys and bad guys and a whole toy line for literally everything that he draws. So you're building properties. You're not just making characters. And that's like pretty much everything that you do has some sort of complicated backstory. That's what I've noticed over the years anyway.
Yeah, that was my training. That was, I owe that to those characters in Cleveland. That was like, well, I did comics and stuff before I started there. I did a comic book for a small company while I was still in college. And I love telling stories. You know, that's, you know, I was raised watching, you know, Saturday morning animated shows and movies and everything, and wanted to get into movies. So yeah, it's definitely something that's a part of everything that I create. You know, BC Blasters has like, it was originally created with no backstory. It's just like an excuse for something cool. But I did eventually, you know, kind of really get pretty deep into a backstory. And it's actually, I'm on my second option from a very large studio that I can't mention it right now because it's, we're still in the development phase, but they're looking to it to be an animated series and a toy line. So it's kind of like that is my goals to this day. Is, you know, I love doing the sculpts and designing the creatures, but I want to get these things out as properties, whether that be comic, animated show, or movies, or whatever. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's the slacking we're talking about, Gary.
I know. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, he really just needs to buckle down and get focused. No, but seriously, it's really impressive that you can also create the worlds. A lot of people are just really good character designers, probably myself included. I'm not very good at creating the worlds and the environments and the whole backstories and everything. So the fact that you can do both is super impressive. But also what's really cool, like most of your career, you've been lucky enough that you got to work in your own style. Like, yeah, you have every once in a while had to work on a property that you had to, you know, draw outside of your style, probably something like a Carebears or something. But for the most part, I can look at a Madballs, but also look at your current work today, like say a Rotten Rex or a King Korpse, and I can see that the same man did both properties. I think that's really cool and very impressive.
Yeah, I always tell people that it's because I can't do anything else.
I think that's why we're all doing it.
Yeah, nothing else I'm good at.
Well, if you're not good at creating worlds or designing toys, and you're really good at collecting and buying toys, then we got just the sponsors for you. So for all your designer toy needs, head on over to a couple of our sponsors. We got StrangeCatToys.com. If you use promo code Marsham at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your order. And then there's 3DRetro.com. They also have a brick and mortar location in Glendale, California. So be sure to check that out. Here's an amazing place. And if you're an artist or a photographer and you've always wanted to have your work printed on beautiful, sustainable wood, then check out what services printsonwood.com can offer you. They do incredible work and you won't be disappointed. So check them out, printsonwood.com. And let's get back to Jim.
So, like, you're in the sort of contemporary, like, sofubi and vinyl toy scene now. How did that start? Like, what was the first toy that you did, the first contemporary toy that you did in this sort of scene?
Or when did you first notice designer toys? And then, exactly, how did you, get into it from there?
I was at Hasbro, and I was at Hasbro from 2000 to 2005. I worked in the play school division, and we'd go at lunchtime. We would go to these places. Yeah, I hope they're still around. They were awesome. It's Newberry Comics.
Okay, yeah, they're still around.
I think they're still around.
Yeah, Newberry Comics was. I mean, if I would getting laid off from Hasbro, I would have gone to work there. You know, it's just toys, comics, DVDs, CDs, everything was there. And I remember going and starting to see. They were probably the first company I remember really starting to see vinyl figures and I think it's Scary Girl, Nathan Juravicius.
Oh, Gary's friend.
That's my other man crush besides you.
Yeah, I think that's the first stuff I bought. I bought his little Scary Girl figures that were all multiple parts and you can mix and match. And
yep.
I thought they were so cool. But it was years before I actually was contacted by, it was Luke at Luke Rook.
Yep.
he sent me an email and he said, "Man, I'd love to collaborate with you on something. And I'm from this vinyl collectors toy scene, and I knew a little bit about it just because that, it didn't stop with the Scary Girl stuff. I was still buying like little pieces here and there, and so the first thing he had me do was that it was the Brain Bug Boogeyman, which was it was a figure from Cure that they were hiring different artists to do different versions of his head and different replacement parts for him. And I did this character that is basically a big insect that's clinging to the top of a human's head and peeling back the skin and sucking on his brain. And
that's pretty messed up.
Yeah, and it was, the response to it was really great. And Luke wanted to do something bigger, and we started talking about a big 18-inch dinosaur or something. And I pitched him some ideas, and he liked Rotten Rex, this sketch I did of Rotten Rex, and so I guess that led to the sculpt, and the sculpt took me 2 or 3 months to do, because I still do freelance for all kinds of toy companies. I was still doing it at that time, and I'd jump on it whenever I got the chance and stuff, and it went to him, and that kind of paved the way for all this other stuff that I'm working on.
Man, everything sounds to come to you so easily. You're just like, I'll just contact Luke, and then that relation builds. The next thing you know, you got a toy, and then another toy, and then this and that.
Well, Jim's got something going for us that we don't have, and he's not a total smartass, and he's a nice guy.
He sounds humble, yeah. I have this saying when someone's like, seems to have life easily come to them, I would just say, must be nice. Well, Jim, that definitely works in your case too. Must be nice to be Jim.
Well, I think it's also that I refused to do anything else. When I graduated from school, I said, I'm going to be an artist, and I'm not going to go work anywhere else. I want to be an artist, and I just stuck to it. And I think it's all about doing it as long as I have been. Of course, eventually someone's going to, hear about me or something, and so they're going to see something that I've done. So I think a lot of it is just because I've never had to do anything else. That, thank God. I've been I think work ethic. I love it so much. I just never stop. And I think, eventually, like I said, your name's going to get out there. So
yeah, this is the third time I've seen Jim in 2 years. We were just talking about this earlier. He throws himself into his work so much that it's just like how we operate. Like we're hermits. We just kind of bury our nose in our work, and it's because we have passion for what we're doing. And like, I've never seen anybody have as much passion for monsters as Jim, honestly. So I've learned a lot from him, and I'm lucky enough to have met him. Almost 10 years ago. Maybe longer. Yeah. And now we're both on the other side of the corporate job, and things are going awesome for you.
And for you, Chris. That's no, but seriously, that speaks volumes to what you guys are doing. It's not like you guys left some crappy, full-time job that you guys hated. Sounds like it was an actually really good job, and you guys still got to be creative and do good things. But the fact that you guys left seemingly great jobs and still went out there and rebranded yourselves and continue to get, a lot of companies clamoring to work with you. I mean, that just speaks a lot to your reputation, client building, and your brand building. It's, it's admirable.
Yeah, I think too, it's hard to do this full time though. You still have to put in as much work as you would, if not more work than you would working for a day job. You have that cushion of like, oh, well, I'm still going to get paid at the end of the day. Whereas like, if I don't do something, I don't get paid. Like you can call in sick. We can't call in sick.
That's why I still have a day job, because I am kind of a slack ass.
Well, that was actually, I found myself getting complacent, and I think that's one of the reasons why I left, was because I didn't want to just go, well, I had all these ideas and all these dreams that I wanted to follow, but this is pretty easy. It just seemed like I didn't want to give up on that stuff. And
right.
And in a way, what we were doing was therapy, because at least with me, I was working on I'd be working on Carebears and Strawberry Shortcake during the day. I'd go home and draw monsters and sculpt monsters and stuff. So it was kind of rounding me out, I guess. And I got to see some of Chris's first sculpts. I think you bring him to AG and show them to me, and watching his progress, just watching him learn and what Chris has always done that I'm not. What I don't do is researching new materials. And I mean, he dove right into the mold making and all that stuff. I made molds at one point, but I usually hire people for that. But he has total control over his product and stuff. So that's always impressed me about him, is that it's just researching what's the best way to get these creatures out there to people. What's the best material?
Yeah, I've been developing some new clay I need to talk to you about. That. I'm mixing monster clay and CX5. So
you just gave out the formula.
Yeah, but I didn't give out the ratios. Gary, this is clay we're talking about, Gary.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell. I zoned out for a second there. Are you guys talking about Play-Doh?
What kind of wood is that?
That's a nice poplar. That's a bass. That's oak over there. Yeah. A CX5, CK5. I have no SK5. No idea. I was like when I talked to Ryan Rutherford and he starts getting all nerdy on the the polymers and all that stuff. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
So Jim, I know you ended up in New Zealand at one point. How did that come about?
That was through American Greetings, of all things. Is the VP at the time, the president of the division that I was in for AG Properties, actually had met Richard Taylor, who's the guy who created Weta Workshop to do all the special effects stuff for Peter Jackson's movies. But anyway, my old boss met him at a trade show, and they started brainstorming the idea of working on some properties together with American Greetings and Weta. And Weta, I'm a movie geek, like I've mentioned, and special effects and everything. I knew Richard. I've watched every film they worked on. I've watched all the making of docs and everything. I felt like I knew Richard Taylor already. So when we got to fly out to New Zealand to talk to him about a bunch of properties that we were looking to work on them with, I hit it off with Richard because he was a garage kit guy in New Zealand. And so we just talked and we should have been talking about whatever the properties we're working on, but just hit it off. And he invited me back to come back and work on The Hobbit. And American Greetings was gracious enough to let me do that. And they let me fly back. I was there 2 weeks. I did some concept work, and I worked on costumes or a costume, and was sitting in on brainstorms and stuff. And it was just unbelievable. It was like, that's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, other than my kids, you know.
They're not going to listen to this.
Yeah, just make sure you don't edit that out. But yeah, it's like that was one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. I'm out to Richard Taylor's house, and he pulled out these 2 books, and he said, "Hey, Jim, a long time ago I got these books. They're American books on the garage kit industry, and they have pictures of every garage kit that was done back then. Did you ever hear of these books?" And I go, "Richard, I did the covers for both those books." And he goes, he just yells to his wife, "Jim did the covers to these books." And he lays them out in front of me, and he has me sign them. And I'm like, "Richard Taylor, sign these books." And so, yeah, that was amazing. I'm hoping I can get back there someday. But, yeah, it was just a highlight.
Can your life just get any better? I mean, geez, we go from getting to work on Star Wars and Transformers, and you're working on all these great toy companies, and all of a sudden Chris throws out there, "Oh, by the way, you went to New Zealand and got to work for Weta." I mean, holy cow, Jim.
Well, see, kids, stay in school, work hard, don't do drugs.
Okay, now we're going to get into where your life took a downturn and you're down on your luck. And
Oh, yeah.
I think it's only up for.
I get paid? I'm getting paid for this interview, right?
Yeah, sure. We pay in what do we pay in, Chris?
Good times.
There you go.
But what are you working on now? I know you're probably not working on anything.
Working on my resume.
Okay, Okay, so yeah, so are you working for American Greetings today, and like how does it work for when like today when you're doing Madball designs for Kid Robot and some of the other companies? Do they give permission to you to work on Madballs? How does all that work, and what all do you have going on today?
Well, when I was at AG, no, actually, Mondo. When I was at AG, it was Justin Ishmael at Mondo actually contacted me and said, "Hey, how do we get the license?" And I put him in contact with the people at AG.
Okay.
When I left AG and was on my own, I met Frank Kozik, and Frank Kozik was made the creative director at Kid Robot, and he wanted to know, how do I get the license? And I sent him to American Greetings. I still have a good relationship with the people there, and they were all for me still staying on the classic brand. They have a new launch of Madballs that they've been totally redesigned. They're a little bit more kid friendly and it's still the same characters, but they're a little bit more of a kid friendly aesthetic.
Okay.
But they're still doing the classic stuff, and they're keeping me involved in the classic stuff, which I am very appreciative of. So yeah, they're all for it. They're fine with it, and they know that I know the brand, and they know that I'll keep the integrity of the brand, and that I will check in with them and stuff like that. So yeah, that's worked out pretty well.
That's nice.
See, being a nice guy, it pays off.
Yeah, you got a lot. You're just kind of working those connections, and everyone just kind of like, oh, okay, if it's Jim, sure,
Yeah,
we'll do it.
Yeah, nice. I think that's true. But it's like I'm not a bridge burner too. That's something I've learned in my career is I do not burn bridges.
Well, what I like about what you're doing with Kid Robot is you're doing a lot of the original designs, but then you're implementing original designs as well, like the Kid Robot mascot. You did a version of that. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, that was fun because in 2006 we relaunched the Madballs when I was still at American Greetings, and for the first time since the 80s, we designed like 80 new characters, all kinds of crazy dinosaurs and robots and stuff like that. So whenever we have the chance to do new characters for the line, I'm all for it, So yeah, that was really fun, and I think it turned out pretty cool.
Now you know the license pretty well. Do you ever foresee like maybe a Kid Robot or a Mondo or someone getting an artist series of Madballs where other artists can do their take on Madballs, or no?
I'd love it, and it's been talked about. And let's just say that I've heard stories that one of those companies might be looking in that direction.
Oh, there's whispers out there. Whispers.
Yeah, I don't want the person that shows their hand for them or anything like that. So.
Well, we haven't done a round of leaks and sneak peeks yet. You could just throw that out there during that segment.
Okay.
Just break it open.
Perfect segue.
Yeah.
But what do you can you talk about any of the projects that you're doing on your own right now? Or are you not allowed?
No, I think I'm of course doing King Korpse for Instinct Toys, and with Hiroto-san at Instinct Toys, who's an amazing artist. He won the Designer Toy Award last year, and he's been a great partner. They've asked me to do some more stuff with them. I pitched them a bunch of ideas, and they liked all of them. They said they want to do all of them. So I have a new one, a large 15-inch tall sculpt of a new creature. And we've already kind of posted stuff. So his name is Kaiju Killer, and he is a giant that's been hired. He was hired back in the early ages of man to defend them from killer kaiju. And that's kind of his kind of pseudo backstory. And he's going to come with a whole bunch of accessories. And I've been working on the sculpt for about 2 months and posting little snippets of that here and there. But that's the big project I'm finishing up right now. And then we have a couple more figures planned over the next couple of years. There's another company that I'm going to be doing a series of figures for in China. And then there's Justin Ishmael, who used to be at Mondo. He approached me about doing a sculpt of an old B movie. It's like a cult movie called The Deadly Spawn. and it's like this big, toothy. It almost looks like a more gory version of Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors, but it's like this big, multi-headed creature, and he's doing that as a large size vinyl figure, and I'll be sculpting that for him. And I still do tons of freelance still do stuff for Hasbro, still do stuff for AG, American Greetings from time to time, and still do my regular toy work, which I still enjoy.
That's nice. You got, you're a relationship builder. Got lots of what? Oh my God, I can't talk tonight, guys. What's that phrase? A lot of pans on the burner. I can't even think.
That's perfect.
No, but that's really cool. But Jim, I gotta say, like, the designer toys thing. As far as designer toys thing goes, all the collectors, we have too much stuff. Our shelves are full. Like, why are you designing 15-inch figures?
Because nobody else is.
Hey, I blame Luke for that. He came in and said, let's do something 18 inches high. And I started on it, and I remember getting a hold of him going, are you sure 18 inches high? It's like, how are you going to pack this thing? Are you going to ship it? And we decided to go back down and reduce the size of Rotten Rex. But I love the big figures. I used to collect all the old Godzillas, Bandai and Sakuda and all the old Godzilla and Gamera figures that a lot of them were in that scale. And I just love it. I love it. I love the little BC Blaster sizes too. They're a little bit more fucking down and dirty, but I just love the big stuff.
I've seen your small stuff too. It's like you almost fit just as much detail as you do the large stuff. I mean, it's the level of detail that you put into your work. It's ridiculous. Which is in a very impressive way. I look at it as like, I work in minimalism, and you're just like a maximalist. You just throw every detail that you can throw out there, from reptile skin to just rotting flesh and all that crazy stuff, and that's impressive stuff.
I love texture. I love texture. This new piece, Kaiju Killer, probably has more textures on it than even Rotten Rex. It's got fur and scales and rhino skin and bone and all kinds of stuff. So I just love exploring different types of textures.
Yeah, and with those like Rotten Rex, I love looking at that thing because every time I look at it, I see something else that I didn't see before. Yeah. Like, how many skulls are on that thing?
No. You know what? I don't even know how many skulls are actually. I never counted.
There's got to be 20, maybe more, just in his stomach. But because he's like, you can't see one side from the other side. Every time you turn it around, you see something completely new in there. So, and I actually got to watch you sculpt some of that in the basement here.
Oh yeah, I brought him over to Chris's studio and did part of the body.
And I remember just standing there shaking my head. Like, what's madman doing?
Yeah, it's just something that, and once again, being a fan of special effects and all the guys that work in the special effects industry that are just amazing sculptors, I study their work, and it's all about those details and looking at life and seeing all the different scales and different textures and skin details that are in nature, and then incorporating them into your work. And I think I love it so much, it's just kind of spilled into my own work.
In your own work, you can go like super hyper detailed and really gory. When you were working in licensing, I know sometimes the licensees are a little restrictive in what you can do. Like something like Madballs, did you guys ever have to hold back on the amount of maggots you can put in the mouth, or the amount of blood or gore in a product like that?
Yeah, the original Madballs, all that green slime, it was originally red.
Oh, okay.
It's like the retailers were the ones that said, there's too much blood. So then the green kind of came about, and it became kind of a signature of the brand, which is interesting. But I can't even claim designing the grossest Madball. That goes to the gentleman that I keep mentioning, Mark Spangler. It's funny you should mention maggots. He did a character barfing up maggots. He's the sweetest, nicest, mild-mannered human being, but the stuff he can come up with is just beyond.
And he's a master draftsman.
He is.
Too. Like his I've seen his drawings of like interiors and stuff that are just crazy stuff. And those are the kind of guys that are just quietly sitting in the corner of buildings designing things like that. But Gary, I actually got to see some of the resin master casts of the Madballs sitting on Jim's desk, and I always thought it was like a real shame that when they originally made Madballs, they were foam, and there's tons of detail lost when they cast them in foam and then they paint them, and the paint jobs they're factory paint, so they're not super, they're okay, they're not like really detailed. But those resin master casts, if they just put those things out unpainted, I mean, they're works of art. I mean, the detail is amazing on those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not do some unpainted ones? That'd be incredible.
Yeah, actually, if you look at what Kid Robot's doing, since they did choose to go with more of the harder, direct, like that harder vinyl,
yep,
they are retaining a lot of the detail. In fact, they just sent me a box full of all the product, and I was going through the keychains. They're amazing. The keychains are really, they're actually the deco back in the day in the 80s was really great. But yeah, I think they did a great job on the deco on these, and the detail of sculpts. They're like classic Madballs Plus.
Oh, nice. Yeah, since we don't have toy stores here, I can't see them.
I haven't actually seen them in hand either. I've seen them on review shows, but I haven't seen them actually in hand.
Jim's my toy store. Whenever I see him, he's always got something in hand to show me.
Well, you just said earlier they only see him like once every 10 years or something like that.
Exactly. Last time I saw him, he had a trunk full of King Korpses.
Yeah. We had to meet up so he could see the new King Korpse, and I had just gotten a number of King Korpses from Instinct Toys, and I was just so happy with them. They're just amazing. That's probably one of my the pieces I've done in my life that I'm proudest of.
Thanks.
And it's a lot of Instinct Toys just did it up. They just Hiroto-san he kept coming back and saying, let's make the ribs separate. Let's put a heart that pops out. Let's put I had the chains were going to be sculpted on the wrists and the ankle and around his waist. And he said, now let's make them separate pieces with hanging chains. And then they put a plastic doll eye. They were awesome. So a lot of what he's become, I give credit to them. That's for sure.
I'm going to say it again, Jim. Must be nice.
But you've done so many things that like I played with when I was a kid, that like the toys that I was like, hey, I had those. I mean, you're not that much older than me, but but that just is like how young you were when you were making those things. So to have you in with what the sort of designer vinyl toy scene now, it's just interesting. Like it's nice to have you as a personality doing this and getting the credit for it, whereas before you were just the invisible man, like you said. So,
yeah, and it's funny we were talking about Barnyard Commandos before. It's like I was a young kid, had done Barnyard Commandos. It was turned into an animated series. I learned that I wasn't going to have my name on the credits. And I went in and talked to my boss, and my immediate boss wasn't real happy about it. He said, oh, it's cut off at a certain level. We can't put your name on this thing that I created. And then I went back to my office. I'm like, what the heck? And the VP of the entire division came in and goes, hey, I heard my name's going to be on this animated show. I need to know what it is.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And
yeah, he probably didn't even care.
It was just, but yeah, to that point, yeah, I think that's one of the major pluses of this whole vinyl toy movement is it is about the creators, and it is about the sculptors and the designers. And that is, it's sweet. It's gratification. It's, you come up with something cool and you can get it out there and people are interested in seeing it and buying it. And I think that's one of the best things about it.
Yeah. How's it been actually getting to meet your fans of your product now that they actually know that you're associated with it? I've seen plenty of photos online, Instagram, whatnot, of you standing there holding Rotten Rex next to the lottery winner, and they couldn't have bigger smiles on their faces. Like, what's it like now being able to see the fan base and just growing and loving your work in hand?
I love it. I mean, I was talking to Chris and Amanda when I got here to his house that I still don't know a lot of people that are like, I went to decon. I still don't, there's so many people I haven't met because I end up at my table the whole time because I just love talking to people and answering questions. And so it's awesome. I really enjoy it. And I love to hear that people actually want this stuff and seeing and also meeting when some of the artists actually come around or I get around, it's usually I get around the people that are within like 6 or 7 booths of me and meeting some of the other sculptors and stuff and hearing about how they got started and where their ideas come from. It's great. Decon is the best show I go to during the year. And this last one was the best show I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
Actually.
See what you were missing, Gary?
I tell you what, this show has become just a giant infomercial for DesignerCon. I don't know how we can make it any grander than all the artists coming on the show have made it. It's the best show on earth, right?
It really is. I mean, I've been going since they moved to Pasadena. I went to the first one that was in Pasadena, and it's grown so much, but there's something about the vibe of that show and everybody's, of course we're all competing for the same customers, but everybody wants everybody else to win and everybody's a fan of everybody else. And, it really is it's like a family reunion with merchandise. That's what I always say, because all the collectors go there to see each other and to actually interact with their favorite artists, which you can't do. You can go to San Diego Comic-Con and pay a lot of money and it's super inaccessible you can pay $7 to get into DesignerCon and go meet Jim Groman. Like, it's such a good community.
Yeah.
And DesignerCon isn't just a convention. I feel like they've built a community around that convention. So yeah, I mean, I have nothing but nice things to say about it.
And I'm an idea man, and an idea just popped in my head. What do you guys think about the idea of, how Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, they're pretty much, they're calling it quits. Their last show is going to be in May, right?
Right.
And they were the greatest show on earth. So why not, now that they're done, why not kind of like this next DesignerCon, we have DesignerCon branded as the greatest show on earth, and we could have just amazing, just circus-themed posters made. I love circus posters. The vintage ones, they're amazing.
Maybe some pennants?
Well, the pennants.
There be elephants and monkeys.
I think, but just why not? Like some of the weird stuff in the designer toy scene is very, freakish in nature and whatnot. So what if there's a DesignerCon poster across the top? It said DesignerCon, greatest show on earth, and then in the standard circus poster with the circles or the strong man or so on. So you can have a Rotten Rex, and then you can have a Brimmelsdorf from Ryniak or whatever, Hufflepuff or whatever he's got going on. But why not like an awesome collaborative poster where, because a lot of the stuff out there is just it's one artist doing one thing, but DesignerCon, it's so big and so grand. Like, why not have a collaborative? Well, one, because you guys are all too busy to do it. I think that's the problem. It's why it's never going to happen.
Jim's always too busy to do everything he's doing, but somehow does it anyway.
Right. One of those. Do you see your family, Jim? Are you just locked away in the basement?
No, well, I'm an empty nester. Me and my wife are empty nesters. Our kids are older, and I have grandkids and stuff, and I see them pretty regularly. They're usually having trouble finding time for me, I guess. But we've worked it out. My wife knows, how I work and how long of hours I put in. She works different hours than me too, so that's why I work later into the evening. Is she works, in the afternoon till the evening.
Okay.
She's a hairdresser, so it seems to work out that I can get a lot of hours in the studio.
Jim and his wife have an awesome relationship, and I've never seen anybody more supportive than your wife.
Yeah, she really is.
And Jim will never not let a phone call from her to go to voicemail. He will always
That's
answer.
good.
He is a sweet man.
He's a sweet man and a smart man. I know what happens if you let that go to caller ID.
And my wife will be listening to this. So.
Well, guys, should we do a little leaks and sneak peeks?
Sure, let's do it at the end so everybody can shut it off right now.
No, if anybody knows, never turn the show off, because sometimes I might play a little music at the end. You think the show is going to end, and I'll throw in some extras. So anyone who's turning it off when they hear the music, you've probably missed some good stuff in the
past. They won't win the prize that you're giving away.
The prize that I never end up giving away?
Right, exactly. What are you hand making for a prize this week?
I'm not. I actually never started that pin design display thing. I'll start it. It's just the wife's been busy, and right. So I'll get in the wood shop maybe next weekend, and then I can show what that looks like. Give me a month before I can show it.
You heard it, folks. Hold them to it.
Yep, hold me to it. But that giveaway will happen. Well, let's do a quick round of leaks and sneak peeks. Since you're the guest, Jim, what do you have for us?
Actually, I did come prepared. It's a gentleman that I've talked to him a couple times because I'd like to collaborate with him, but the only thing is I don't know his real name. But if you get on Instagram, his Instagram handle is Dope Pope, and it's spelled kind of strange, so you can't just punch in Dope Pope. It has to be D0PE P0PE.
These people do not want to be found, do they? With all these crazy names.
Dope Pope.
It's worth it though.
And there's a link to his website, and he does ZBrush kaiju, and he'll do a redux of Ghidorah or Gamera, or he even creates his own creatures and stuff. And I just I come across stuff very rarely, other than that really just blows you away. That looks original, or someone that just has a skill level that just is impressive. And I just fell in love with some of his kaiju creatures and stuff. And I'm hoping that the project comes along that I can kind of work with this guy. But just check his stuff out on Instagram at Dope Pope, and check out some of his kaiju. They're just really cool.
Awesome. I mean, if you're impressed by him, I think we'll all be impressed by him. All right, Chris, what about you?
I found these people on Instagram a couple years ago, and they're some of my favorite designers. You probably know of them. They go by Louloutummie. Yes. And they kind of intermittently had been making these wooden toys that they have a spin-off Instagram account called Lulu's Wood Shop. And the toys that they're making are really awesome. Like they're all like turned on a lathe, and they're made with different types of wood. So all the wood, it's either stained a different color or it's actually made out of a different type of wood, and that's what's making all the different color breaks. Yep. But they're making these really awesome like aliens and stuff, and they have glass domes over them, and they're really, really simple designs, but they're really elegant and they're really beautifully made. And I don't think they might have just like one or two pieces at a time, but I know they sell out super fast. But if you guys look up Louloutummie on Instagram, aside from just being like really awesome print designers, they make these really great looking wood toys too. So yeah, I just wanted to give them a shout out.
No, thanks. Actually, there's some, I've been wanting to talk about their work for a while, so thanks for bringing them up. They're out of the Netherlands. Their Louloutummie that's their handle on Instagram, is Louloutummie, and their website is louloutummie.com. And their work is just super pleasing to the eyes. Like just all around the design work is super awesome. Yeah. But like you mentioned, their woodwork, and it's just astounding. What they do in wood is gorgeous, and they're like these giant botanicals. They look like robots with the glass dome, and I don't even think they stain their work. I think they just work in a variety of woods, and that's just when they apply the beeswax, it just brings out the natural color of all those different woods, and it looks incredible. And what they're doing is actually really similar to one of my all-time favorite wood artisans. His name is Take G, or Take G. I'm not exactly fully sure how you pronounce it, but if you ever want your mind absolutely blown, check out his Instagram account. It's take_G_toys, or their website, take-gtoys.com. He's out of Japan, and what he's doing in wood is absolutely incredible. I mean, you guys will absolutely love his work. He just creates entire worlds for his wood creations, creating everything from monsters to robots to the vehicles, and just the characters and all their sidekicks. It's amazing. And I believe he just designs these things pretty much for himself, but I know he's done tons of the exhibitions out there in Japan and maybe some other countries too. But from what I've heard, his pieces are really tough to obtain, not only because they're not mass produced, but because he just doesn't like the pieces falling into anyone's hands. He prefers to meet the people and likes the people to be able to see the pieces up close and in person and just appreciate the craftsmanship and the level of the work.
Wow.
Maybe just to form a bond with the piece as well. But if I ever do make it to Japan, seeing his work up close and personal would be the absolute top of my priority list. So I mean, enough gushing. Check out his work and thank me later. Take_G_toys.
Yeah, I'm always impressed when people can make things out of wood and you can actually see the grain of the wood, because it's such an unforgiving material.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to all you woodworkers out there.
Well, I'm not on their level. I like to paint my stuff to hide all the imperfections. But on occasion, I have stained some stuff, and that turned out really well, too. Like the Autumn Stag. That was originally stained, and that turned out really nice. But
well, now you have something to aspire to, Gary.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I need to get myself a real workshop then. I'm kind of a hacky woodshop worker. I don't have vacuum machines and a really nice lathe and brand name products. It's all kind of like something I picked up here or there from Sears here and there. You know.
Oh yeah, blame the tools, Gary.
Well, one day I will become a regular Norman.
Hey, it's all about the end product.
That's right. Know? But okay, well,
Photoshop and Illustrator and ZBrush and everything else. Who cares? As long as the end product is awesome.
That's right. That's right. All right, well, I guess it's my turn, and you guys kind of mentioned pennants earlier, and I know I've been talking about how I think they're going to be the next big thing for months now, and I decided to put up or shut up, and I have designed a pennant for the Marsham Toy Hour. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary in a couple weeks, so the pennant is actually in production right now, and I would say in maybe anywhere between 2 and 4 weeks, we should have that up in the shop and available to the listeners.
Wow.
Yeah.
We actually did it.
We actually did it. We're going to start this trend. It starts with us, and you watch out. Maybe the next Designer Con. I'm going to tell you, Chris, I think once other designers figure out that it's fun to design for pennants, you get 1 or 2 colors. You can do 3, you can do multiple. It's screen printed on felt and whatnot, but it's fun to design for that platform, and it's really cool to be able to give pins are inexpensive, and same thing with pennants. You can retail them for anywhere between $10 and $20, and you can put your own popular character on it and your own cool type font or whatever, and sell it to your fan base. And now they can put a pennant behind a toy that maybe they picked up from you. I think it's cool, and so I've kind of gotten the pennant bug just from doing that. I think I'm going to follow it up one pretty soon here with a Whooper Looper one, and I did some Dunny designs coming out in May around the 5 Points Fest and Designer Toy Awards. I think with those, I'm probably going to be doing pennants for the APs as well. I kind of got the bug, and
nice.
We'll see. And the thing about pennants too is they come in 3 different sizes. You can go mini, medium, or large, and if you really wanted to protect them, I know some people mention, fleece, moths, and stuff like that, but you can buy protective sleeves with them just like you can any baseball card or whatnot. So I think it's a win-win, and I do think this is going to catch on. Chris, you're next. I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Well, I already did mine, Gary.
No, the pennant.
Oh, a pennant. Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
You're going to do it.
I know. It's funny because I was just pointing because I have 2 pennants hanging up in my studio right now.
Yeah.
But I collect vintage ones. But Yeah, it's funny because if you go to antique stores and stuff now, that every booth has like 5 pennants in each booth. Yes, I go to a lot of antique stores because I'm an old lady.
Yep.
But yeah, it's funny how these trends keep popping up. But speaking of 5 points, I think all 3 of us will be at 5 points. So
yeah.
Jim will be there as well.
That's gonna be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, more and more as I start to hear the list of people they have coming out to show. Instinct Toys is coming out from Japan, so I'm excited about that. They'll be setting up at that show, so yeah, really exciting.
I gotta hand it to 5 points in the crew that's been putting it together for a first year event. Usually that's kind of just a lot of locals setting it up, but they're getting you guys from Ohio. They're getting Instinct Toy. I mean, Kid Robot and. A lot of out-of-state companies, or even out of country. Oh my God, guys!
I think you're trying to say international.
Yeah, international companies are going to this event now, and that's saying a lot for a first-year event. So I think they're going to really hit it off on the first year.
Yeah, we're hitting it hard with the Ohio representation. I know. Horrible Adorables are going to be there.
Oh yeah.
Amanda and I will be there. Jim will be there. Don't know if anybody else. That's everyone in Ohio. That's literally everyone that lives in Ohio.
Jeez, I think Urban Vinyl Daily's in Ohio, and I think they're going to be making the trek out there. Maybe not as exhibitors, but they'll be in attendance for it.
Well, it is nice to have something on this side of the country that's not New York Comic Con.
Right. No, I think it's going to be great. And it's going to be the same weekend as Designer Toy Awards, too. So it'll be fun to watch you guys, receive your awards, too.
I didn't have it come out last year, or within the past 3 months between the last one and this.
Well, unfortunately, it's going to be anything that was released in 2016. So
okay.
We'll see. I'm sure you had stuff come out then, right?
I don't remember. It's all a blur.
All right, Jim, you want to do a quick round of lightning with us? A lightning round?
Why, sure.
All right.
I'm old, so I'll try to keep up.
Well, I formulated some new questions for you tonight. They might be a little trickier than what you're accustomed to, hearing on previous episodes.
Oh, good God.
But we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Jeez. Okay, what was the first toy you picked up? Do you remember? As far as designer toys, do you remember what your first designer toy was?
Yeah, it was those Scary Girl figures.
That's right.
Oh, wait a minute. Would this be considered one of the designer toys? It was a thing called the thing that squeaks.
Oh yeah, Spooky.
It's
Spooky, the thing that squeaks.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
I think I picked that up first.
That was either Roman Dirge or what's his name?
The thing what squeaks.
Yonan Vasquez. It was from, I think, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac or something. They were selling those at like Tower Records or something like that.
Yeah, they had them at
I have one in the other
Newberry
room.
Comics.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, I think that was probably the first thing I picked it up because I thought it was so novel. And it squeaks.
It does squeak.
Okay. What was your favorite childhood toy?
Yeah, that was Strange Change Machine, man.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I bought one on eBay a couple years ago, and that thing was genius.
Does it still work?
You know what? It does, but it burns the little.
I was going to say you just burn the house down.
Yeah, because the screen it just leaves like a rust color on them, so I don't want to use it anymore. But yeah, that was an awesome toy.
Is there a toy line that you wish existed, or maybe a property that you wish would just get picked up?
There's one that's been tackled, but not recently, that should, and please let me work on it if anyone wants to put it out there. But I am like a huge fan of an old cartoon called The Herculoids.
Yes, I agree.
I love that cartoon, and I wrote a backstory from how that family came to be and how they teamed up with all those like Igu and Tantro and everything. But I love it. It was wild imagination that created that show. I think it was Alex Toth was the artist or the concept guy behind that. But if that's one that needs to have another day in court, I guess.
You would have my money. I used to love that cartoon.
Yeah. Just what a concept. Try to sell that concept nowadays.
Yeah.
All right. If you could only pick one toy to keep, not your own, what would it be?
Oh man.
I mean, are you much of a collector? We didn't even tackle that topic.
I'm very choosy because I run out of room. Mm-hmm. I try to keep one of everything that I work on and put it in a back room and store it in a box. And like I said, I collect Godzilla figures like crazy. Boy. Yeah, you know what? I used to, when I first discovered the Japanese vinyl monster figures that Billiken used to do.
Yep.
I got a hold of a Billiken. It's the Metaluna Mutant. It's from an old 50s science fiction movie. I got that. And then it's the Ymir creature from 20 Million Miles to Earth. It's an old Ray Harryhausen movie. I got those. They're really hard to find. And they were the very first figures put out from that company. And I'm going to be buried with those.
Nice. You and Paul Kaiju, big Billiken fans.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What's the toy? What's the toy that you created that you're most proud of? Or either created or had your hand in?
King Korpse is would probably be it. Even though I love the BC Blasters, I think that's just me. That whole thing is just me. So, but yeah, King Korpse, as far as just a rounded, well-produced, just fun, and I'm a huge King Kong fan. So yeah, that's probably it.
Okay. If you could travel back in the past, what advice would you give a young version of yourself?
Try moving to the West Coast for at least a year.
Is that because you just don't like the cold?
No, when I graduated from school, I wanted to get into film, and I got hired by a toy company, and I did eventually make it into entertainment and everything in a roundabout way. But I always wondered what would have happened if I would have moved out to the West Coast right around the time, like, Aliens and Predator and all these awesome movies were being made.
Yeah.
I always wondered what would have happened.
That'd be a great concept for a movie right there. You've seen it in the past where the kid who missed the big hit in the big game, and then how that changed his life, and he goes back in time, and then he hits it, and now he's no longer married to the same person. All that. That'd be an interesting little take on a artistic version of that film.
Yeah, but to ground this in reality, I saw Steve Wang come up to your booth at DesignerCon this year. Steve Wang sculpted Predator, right?
Yep.
So,
and he's been a friend of mine I've known Steve for a long time, so he's been a good friend of mine, and he's one of the top-notch special effects guys on the West Coast. We just stayed in touch over the years. He did garage kits. He did some of the most amazing garage kits that ever existed, still exist, back in those days. But yeah, if I would have been out there, it would have been about the time he probably would have, because he trying to remember where he came from, but him and a buddy of his moved to the West Coast right about that time and got into film and stuff. And yeah, it's one of those things, but talking about never marrying your wife, that's the thing, is she was in Ohio. She grew up in Lakewood, Ohio, where I grew up, and I guess I never would have met her. So
yep,
that keeps thoughts of like that keep me warm at night.
There you go. Right answer. All right, what's your favorite medium to sculpt in?
It's still Super Sculpey.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I've tried, I like Monster Clay a lot. It's just a lot of my stuff has to be shipped all over the place. So.
And he hates making molds.
Yes. Yeah. Not like making molds.
Okay. I'm sure you had many influences over the years. Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of artistic influences?
Oh, Ray Harryhausen, I would say.
Okay.
Special effects, stop motion animator, probably his creatures and stuff, just as unique and wildly imaginative as they were, probably, I'd say he's probably number one.
There's 3 more heads.
I know Frank Frazetta's going to be up there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought it was just one, but no, Frank Frazetta for sure is still, I mean, when you say, hey, who's your favorite fantasy artist? You know, it's almost cliche to say him, but he's a master, man. He's incredible. Then I'd say like Bernie Wrightson, another illustrator that is just, you know, absolutely amazing. And also like Stan Winston. Stan Winston Studios was that guy. He was always the first one to say it wasn't him doing everything. He would always hire the right people, but that guy, he pulled it all together and he created some of the most iconic monsters in film for a long time.
Nice. What was your favorite Brendan Fraser movie?
Oh,
Encino Man, maybe?
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm not a huge fan, but you know, looking at his backlog of films, I might have to say the first Mummy movie, and that's.
You're so generous, Jim.
I'm not, like I said, I can't think of any other film that he did that I actually, and it's not because I don't like Brendan Fraser, but it's just I can't think of him making
Tarzan?
Great movies. Oh no, that's George of the Jungle.
Oh, George of the Jungle, that's right.
Yeah.
Did you move on from Patrick Swayze?
Well, he mentioned The Mummy earlier and Brendan Fraser. I'm like, well, I'm just going to mix it up this time.
All right.
All right, last question, Jim. What was the best or worst part of this recording?
The best part of it is knowing that you're going to edit this.
And next week, well, Chris likes to, when he listens, he likes to try to guess where I might have edited things. And being, on this episode, Chris, you can actually find and, know where I did it this time.
That's true. I still think you should do it in a completely different voice when you edit.
I'll have my kid do it or something, just completely just change it up.
You should totally do that. It's going to sound so chopped up. It'll be great.
Real professional-like. All right, Jim. Well, thanks for coming on. I hope you take my advice and, focus a little bit more and really get to work.
On penance?
Yeah.
But let me say thanks, Gary, for having me, man. I am a fan of the show, and I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, definitely. Come back anytime. It was fun. We probably barely just scratched the surface on you, I'm sure. So, love to have you back, too. Again, looking forward to everything that you have coming out. I appreciate you taking a time out of your busy schedule to fit us in. And we loved having you on. And Chris, again, thanks for joining us. Why don't you take a brief moment and let everyone know where they can find you, Jim?
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of focused on Instagram these days. So anything new that I'm doing is usually represented there.
Instagram handle again is the letter J, Groman, Groman, the number 60.
Yep. It's the year I was born. So yeah, and I'm kind of lame. That's where I'm pretty busy most of the time, and I think it's just easier for me just to pop stuff up on Instagram.
You can't get any easier than Instagram. It really has pretty much killed websites and blog spots and all that other stuff that artists used to have in the past. All right, Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me also on Instagram. Just look for my name, Chris Ryniak. And Facebook and Twitter, which I'm really thinking about getting off of Twitter because, boy, I do not like reading everything that's happening on there right now. Yeah, I'm talking about toys, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, everything's wrong in the toy world right now. Yeah, just look up my name and you'll find me. And bendlewood.com. That's my online store with my lovely girlfriend Amanda.
All right. I'm Gary Ham at Gary Ham on Instagram. My website is superham.com. I don't do Twitter. I haven't done it for years. And all right. Thanks to Jim and Chris for joining us again. And this has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We will... Holy crap. I lost my train of thought. All right. This has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We'll be next... Oh, my gosh.
Take 3.
This is the Marsham Toy Hour. We'll be back next week, not because we have to, but because we want to. Until our next transmission, we're signing off. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Woo! I got marbles in my mouth today.